On February 27, 2011, renowned diver Agnes Milowka went for a dive in one of the most well-known diving locations in Australia with her group. What followed was nothing short of horrific and made this dive the last one of Milowka's life. The diving fraternity knows this incident as one of the most tragic incidents of the diving world, an incident where an experienced and world-recognized diver like Agnes lost her life in a dive that was supposed to be a simple adventure for her and her team. So the question here is, what exactly happened? This is the story of the tragedy in Tank Cave, the Tank Cave. Before moving on with the incident, it's important to understand the location where the whole tragedy happened. So, Tank Cave is basically an underwater cave near Mount Gambier in southern Australia. The cave got its name because of a water tank that sits right over its entrance, which, by the way, is underground. Now, when someone approaches the location from the surface, they'll see a small lake-like body. There's a small ladder that goes down from this surface lake, and it leads you to a huge maze-like system that has more than 7 kilometers of diving area. Tank Cave is one of the largest underwater caves in Australia, and the thing that makes it one of the most challenging ones is the fact that it's designed like a spider web. The whole structure is extremely complicated, and even the most experienced divers can get lost in it. That's why Australia's diving regulations strictly control the entrance to the cave, and it can only be explored by divers once they have familiarized themselves with the whole pattern by a step-by-step method. Agnes had obviously done all these formalities. In fact, she was one of the divers who were involved in the exploration of the cave's unknown locations and setting up a fixed line through them. Now, Agnes was someone who had always been fascinated by Tank Cave. She had on various occasions written extensively about the intricate details of the cave and how she would love to explore it further. Finally, in 2011, life came full circle when she got the chance to go diving in Tank Cave. February 27th started like any other day. Agnes prepared herself for the dive, something that she'd been doing for years now, and along with a group of 10 fellow divers began the dive towards the depth of Tank Cave. So the plan was simple: to discover previously unexplored parts of the cave and lay down a line for the ease of divers. Now, on her previous dives to the cave, Agnes had already laid down lines of about 1,000 feet in the cave, so this was nothing new for her. Now, Tank Cave at many points is just like a spider web. While diving, a diver comes across paths where the walls and roofs of the cave are very soft and squishy, and this allows small chunks to constantly fall on them as they exhale the air. As soon as this happens, the water turns blurry because of the debris and visibility turns to zero. Similarly, in Tank Cave, there are many parts that are so narrow that only a single diver can swim through at a time. Sometimes to move forward, you even have to remove one of your tanks so you can pass through the entrance. On this particular dive, the head instructor, Andy Higgins, formulated a simple plan where the gate to the cave would remain open and at least one diver would always be present on the dry land close to the ladder. One by one, each diver went into the cave, and after some hours, right around midday, 9 divers of the 10-diver team had safely exited the cave. The only missing one was Agnes Milowka. What happened? As Agnes was left alone in the cave and there was no one who had actually seen what had happened to her, there's nothing conclusive, but there are theories, and they are nothing short of terrifying. So one thing that was revealed after the incident was that Agnes had planned to go further away from the group and swim through an extremely narrow path to try and explore more areas of the cave. One of the most prevalent theories is that Agnes went ahead with this plan and got separated from her diving partner. As the water was clear in the beginning, she managed to swim through the tight passageway, but because of some hindrances, couldn't move forward. After some time, she decided to go back, but the passage was too tight for her to turn, and it became more difficult when her movement turned the water muddy, thus making visibility absolutely zero. She remained in this position for some time, and after a bit, her oxygen ran out, causing her death. Another theory suggests that Agnes didn't die in the unexplored part of the cave. In fact, she just got separated from her team in the main passageway of Tank Cave. In order to get back with her team, she decided to go through a particularly tight entrance which required her to leave one of her cylinders behind, as it would make passing through easier. However, after passing, she was unable to locate the cylinder and as a result died because of not having enough oxygen with her. The search. Agnes's diving partner soon realized that she wasn't behind her. He looked around but couldn't place her anywhere. Eventually, after waiting for more than 1.5 hours, he had no other option than to come back to the surface. Soon, Higgins made a call to emergency services in the area, informing them about the incident that had just occurred. The search went on for the whole day and night, and at last one of the divers was able to locate Agnes's body just behind a narrow restriction. However, at this point, it wasn't possible to retrieve her body. Retrieving the body. Because of the complicated passages of Tank Cave, retrieving Agnes Milowka's body was no easy task. On one hand, going in would mean risking another diver's life, while on the other hand, because of increased pressure from the media, it was becoming more and more important to retrieve the body. Now there were two possibilities. One plan was to drill through almost 50 feet of earth to reach that point, while another idea was to plan a proper dive with experts who would go in and come back with the body. After some research, the emergency teams decided on the latter one. It was decided that some divers would go first and record a video of the path towards the restriction. After the complete study of this path and proper training, the rescue teams would go in. Additionally, to further aid the rescue, emergency oxygen tanks were placed along the path to avoid any unfortunate incidents. After a whole day of diving, Agnes's body was eventually retrieved by the police divers, submerged in almost 65 feet of water and 1,800 feet under the cave entrance. Her reserve cylinder was discovered almost 16 feet away from her body, meaning that she had left it to pass through the restriction. The rescue operation took a total of 4 days and was successfully concluded by Wednesday afternoon. The mistakes. When it comes to the diving industry, there's no doubt that Agnes was one of the bigwigs. She was an expert in the field and had vast experience all over the world in caves that are much more dangerous than Tank Cave. But the fact is that she did make some mistakes when it comes to this particular dive. Firstly, she got separated from her group. According to many experts, in caves where visibility is limited and paths tend to become tight, the thing that matters the most is never separating from your team. Secondly, Agnes decided to go for further exploration through an entrance that was extremely narrow. She had no idea about what lay ahead of that restriction, and thus going there without informing her team wasn't a good decision. Conclusion. The tragedy of Agnes Milowka's death tells about several key issues related to cave diving safety. This incident also reveals the harsh truth that when you are thousands of feet below the ground, with limited air and zero visibility, even a minor mistake can cost you your life. While her death is tragic, her friends and family believe that she died doing what she loved the most, and there's nothing better than that.